Uh, Good morning, all of you. Today we are going to learn the second part of the poem entitled Father Returning Home by Dilip Chitre. We almost learned the first part of the poem in the last lecture. So there may be the repetition of a few things, but still it's important to focus on some important aspects from this poem. Actually, we are supposed to focus on the original lines composed by Dilip Chitre. Father returning home focuses on a certain individual, a commuting father, returning home from work in the Indian city of Mumbai. Although it could be any large city anywhere in the world. So, the hustle and bustle in Mumbai. It's very difficult to travel in Mumbai. The overcrowding places, the horrible, terrible experience, and people seem to be moving faster than time. Sometimes we think that people move very fast than time. People may surpass time, and the schedule is very hectic. They are engrossed with their own official works, engaged at work at all the times, and how their experience is has been narrated nicely. The atmosphere within the poem, narrated by a son or a daughter, is rather gloomy and pessimistic. There is little emotion demonstrated as the father ends another day at work and hurries back to a house that is not altogether a home. Dilip Chitre is actually a filmmaker, he's a painter, he's a poet, and he recorded much of the experiences, most of his experiences in his biography. And the poem has full of images. It had this powerful outburst of emotions and feelings. The speaker observes the actions of an unhappy protagonist. As we know something about Purushottam Chitre, his father, is said to be the inspiration for this poem. As he migrated from his birth town of Baroda to Mumbai to better his life. And this is the inspirational poem. The poem was, the poet was also deeply fascinated and influenced by the city Mumbai. So it is said about Mumbai, Mumbai figures in my early Marathi and English poetry in different ways. The poet says, Mumbai figures in my early Marathi and English poetry in different ways and at several times. I pursued the metropolis in juxtaposition with primordial nature as pursued in my childhood. There was a discord, there was a sense of man-made alienation that haunted me. So let's see what the poet said in this poem. According to the poet, the life is not so simple as you think. The life is not so easy any longer. The father has become a figure of pathos and has lost his risen dead tree. So in this poem, basically some important aspects which need attention of the readers, the major thrust in this poem, the major theme of the poem, the crux of the matter in this poem is that the poem is talking about alienation, separation. It talks about rootlessness. It focuses on the old age in a modern society. It basically emphasizes on isolation, separation, cultural identity, the generation gap. And basically the poem has a major focus on the future of the individual in the city. What kind of the future that the individual is going to have in the city. So I do not want to waste time by talking other things. Just I focus my attention on reading the original poem, and you will sense it as I read it because it's very simple to understand. Father returning home. My father travels on the late evening train. Look at the words. My father travels on the late evening train, standing among silent commuters in the yellow light. Suburbs slide past his unseeing eyes. His shirt and pants are soggy, and his black raincoat stained with mud and his bag stuffed with books is falling apart. His eyes dimmed by age fade homeward through the humid monsoon night. Now I can see him getting off the train like a word dropped from a long sentence. He hurries across the length of the grey platform, crosses the railway line, enters the lane. His chappals are sticky with mud, but he hurries onward. Home again, I see him drinking weak tea, eating a stale chapati, reading a book. He goes into the toilet to contemplate man's estrangement from a man-made world. Coming out, he trembles at the sink, the cold water running over his brown hands. A few droplets cling to the graying hairs on his wrists. His sullen children have often refused to share jokes and secrets with him. He will now go to sleep listening to the static on the radio, dreaming of his ancestors, grandchildren, thinking of nomads entering a subcontinent through a narrow pass. So this is the poem. So the poem is very simple to understand. So before I interpret things, focusing on the lines, on the words and its interpretation, I would like to reread the poem. That's very important. Then we will focus on its meaning because the lines are very meaningful. They let us know about the condition of the protagonist in the poem. My father travels on the late evening train, standing among silent commuters in the yellow light. Suburbs slide past his unseeing eyes. His shirt and pants are soggy, and his black raincoat, stained with mud, and his bag stuffed with books, is falling apart. See how beautiful it is. Here the father is traveling. It's a late evening train. The father is in journey. The father journeys on the late evening train, and he's silently standing without making noise. He's a silent individual. And the yellow beam or light spreads there, and his eyes are unseen. His shirts and pants are soggy. He put on his black raincoat, and the raincoat was stained with mud. His bag is there, and the bag is stuffed with books, is falling apart. His eyes got dimmed by age. He's not able to see things properly due to his old age. His eyes dimmed by age. Still, he journeys towards home. And his journey is made through the humid monsoon night. He is leading, he is going home. Now he can see himself as getting off the train. He gets off the train, and his getting off the train is compared here. That is the simile used by the poet. Is like a word dropped from a long sentence. You know, there is a long sentence, and from a long sentence, a word dropped. And the presence of an old man is like a word in the sentence. This is a very, what we can call a little existence in the crowded world. So